This is not another stream. This is the moment we show up. Real talk, real truth, real people, ready to ride. No filter, no fluff, just raw conversation that hits where it matters. Welcome to the revolution of You Be You Live. Let's do it live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hit it! Hey, Wayne.
Yes, sir.
My best buddy. How are you?
Good afternoon, Bill.
Hey.
I am well, thank you, sir. Really enjoying the weekend, or I like to call it the strong end.
Right.
I have family in town, and we're just having a great time getting together, creating memories. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I am great. You know, my brother loves you. Like, he loves you more than he loves me. He's like, oh, Wayne's gonna be on. I'm like, yeah, Wayne's gonna be on. So I'm sure he'll be totally excited.
I'm humbled. Please thank him on my behalf.
I think it's because you are humbled. Like, your energy is so like great. It's just there, you know.
Thank you, sir.
It's something. It comes through. The audience sees it, feels it. You know, they're attracted to it. So yeah. What have you been up to, my friend?
A whole lot, Bill. You notice I have a new look?
I do.
I decided to embrace the gray.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir. For the last month and a half, perhaps, no more Beijing, and I'm allowing it to pop out and own.
Yeah,
mid-age.
There you go. I actually like it more, actually, for myself. You know. Yeah.
You have kept yours the whole time. I met you. You had you were setting the trend that midlifers ought to be. Well, you know, the truth of the matter is we define how our identity and how we want to be recognized and what makes us happy. So I'm not one to say that it's for everybody or it's not. You know, I'm a vegan. Doesn't mean everybody around me should be vegans. Doesn't mean that I have the holy grail. So to each his own. And I'm just shifting right now into this space of comfortability with the gray.
And it looks good.
Thank you,
It
Bill.
looks great, man.
Thank you.
You do so much. And I think in our last conversation, we didn't really touch on everything that you do. So let's like dig into that.
Yes, sir.
You know, I mean, it's more than just what you do to influence men on their journey. It's how you allow the guys in your life to accept their journey and steer them towards their greatness. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Oh, good. All right. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about who you are and then who you are trying to build around you. Because I think that you do that very, very, very elegantly.
Thank you. I want to firstly preface to say that though my profile says that I work with Black men and women who love them, in particular midlife, and that is my avatar, my niche, so to speak, go to clients. I am open to work with anyone who is willing to go through the pain and the discipline of transformation, change. And so I want to get that out of the way, right? I'm pro that group, but I'm not anti any other group.
Yeah.
And this is because it is very easy for me to speak that language because I'm a Black man in midlife. So the nuances are real and I deal with them day to day. So I want to get that out of the way so folks listening don't say, oh, we got another racist I'm not at all.
No.
So the work that I do is based on one, the experiences that I've garnered along the way. I'm 40, I'm 40. I'm 63 in less than a month. And along the way, I've had the trials and tribulations, but I've also have had the triumphs and the testimonials from the test. I've had the challenges, but I've also championed. And so what I've been able to do through making lots of errors and mistake is to recognize that we are not perfect beings, but we must give ourselves grace. And it's important that rather than repeating the same year every year, we grow from each year. We learn.
Absolutely.
That I'm saging rather than aging.
Ooh. Say that again.
I like to think that as men, we ought to be saging, not just simply aging.
Right on. Go ahead. I like that. I like that. I'm going to keep that with me. Thank you.
So for me, I have been working on and continue to do this and must get a lot more discipline and stick to it in getting it done. And that is this book that I have a framework for the last maybe 5 or so years. And I have people kicking me in the shin, say, get it done, lead with the book. And so this book is my birthday is the 16th, and I wanted to give myself a gift to have it ready for publishing. It may not get to the date as I'm rushing through, but I keep going back. But it's about when the shift hits the man.
When the shift
hits the man.
It's the man. Oh my God. Why? You just dropped the knowledge. When the shift hits the man.
Yeah.
You know, Wayne,
yes,
go
sir.
ahead.
Yes,
ahead.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Dig it out.
So along the way, I've had the 3 main categories or areas of our life that we tend to be bothered with or spend a lot of time trying to borrow through are career, right, relationships, and health. And most times you run into a coach, that coach is dealing with one of those 3 areas of life concerns. And I have learned, as have you and many other people, because we have encountered these things, the importance, we're social creatures, so relationships happen, right, all the time. And we got to figure out how to be good at this, because we can mess it up very easily. It's around the areas of communication and empathy and emotional intelligence. Those are things that we don't necessarily have as an innate feature, but we can learn these things. I have had issues of near-death experience, blood clot in my lungs more than one occasion, and other illnesses that threaten what could be my immortality. And I've had to bounce back and learn from that. And of course, career. I've been fired, I've been hired, I've hired, and I've fired. I've done it all. And so within those years of learning, I've been able to pattern what works and what does not. What are the habits and the disciplines? How do we create access to empowering ourselves and maximizing our potential so that we can live our best life? It is true today that we're living longer and perhaps this is arguable, better lives than we did 30, 40, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, because of science and, technology.
Yeah.
And so at 40, a man has roughly another half a life to go, close to, right? For Black men, it's less, I think, about 4 years than their white counterparts. But nonetheless, at 40, you're expected to live till at least 76. Now, it means, therefore, that what are you going to do? It's not about retiring in terms of resignation and calling it quits. It's about reinvention and reimagination and restoration to continue so that your second half can be I call it your best half. No, grammatically it doesn't sound right, but not your better half, but your best half. Because what you have done over the years is you're picking flowers as you go along the path, but along with the flowers, you're getting weeds. At the end of the day, you can't throw away the weeds with the flowers. You have to sort it so that you can have a bouquet that works for you. And that is what it takes to truly evolve into full manhood and enjoy yourself as a sage man as you go into your elder years. And so, knowing that this is a true path, it's not something that we have as a happen chance and it happens just to one person. This is the life path of all men. But what you do with it, we all have the same amount of years, rather days in the year, hours in the day, seconds in the hour. And what you do with that is what matters. And so what I've learned, Bill, along the way in terms of the escapes, the mistakes that I've had, is to embrace them, to learn from them, and to be grateful for them. Yes, to say thank you, because without those, I would not have learned how to get through and get along and have breakthroughs without the breakdowns. So because I've had those, what I've simply done is created for myself and tested it in terms of working with the men that I coach, these principles to get through and so that they can have the best lives. And this is what I do. So when men understand that we're normalizing these things, we're normalizing failure. Failure is no disgrace. It's quitting where you have to hold your head down.
Yeah.
Failure is something that you ought to invite, not go out to look for it, but certainly you don't beat yourself up. No need to flagellate and say, hey, I'm no good.
My God. Wayne.
Yes, sir.
Where are you? I need to come to you right now. Like, you are amazing. You are speaking life to me right now. And I don't even know if you realize that. Everyone needs to hear you speak. You are magnificent.
I appreciate you, Bill.
You are wonderful. You are speaking life to me right now in the phase that I need it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because different things come across differently depending on where you are in that phase of your life. And right now, your message is resonating with me more than it would have a year ago, if that makes sense.
Yes. And I don't profess to be the teacher, but there is an old saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear.
Absolutely.
So you have to be ready, as it were, to attract the information that you need to open the doors to the locks that you have so far encountered.
I love you. I told you, my brother, Philip,
yes, sir.
is like, my brother is like, get Wayne back on, get Wayne back on, get Wayne back on. I'm like, okay, I'll get Wayne back on.
Hey, it's time to break bread again. Let's invite Philip. We can get back together down there in Fort Lauderdale.
He's in Illinois.
Oh, okay.
But he would love, I'm telling you, he loves you and the conversations that you and I have. So it's not just you, it's like the back and forth that you and I do. So it's really cool.
Loving it. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead.
Now I'm waiting. When one of the things that we fail to mention for whatever reason is that we can't do it alone. As a God-fearing man, I'm not holier than thou, but I know that I'm not responsible for getting up on my own this morning.
Absolutely.
And as such, I give thanks to the Most High, the Creator, to God. And some people have a different agenda and think differently. And whether your God comes in different names, as in Allah, Yahweh, whomever, recognizing that you must yield to a source beyond yourself is very important. And if you've been trying to do it on your own, I don't know, some people say hocus pocus, don't believe that stuff, but that is fine. Like I said, I'm a vegan and I'm not going to go to your house and tell you that you must throw your steak out. So I'm not going to tell you how you should think, could believe. I know what works for me. And for a lot of the brothers, you know, I have a cousin who had stage 4 cancer about 5-6 months ago. And for most people, it had gone to his bones. And for most people, that's a declaration of death, right?
Yeah.
And through his faith, his belief, praise in his belief, and those around him, after 3 sessions or 3 months of chemo, he checked out as absolutely cancer-free. Now, of course, the cancer never leaves your body fully, but it's sublime, or it's in remission, or it's disappeared enough that he's gone back to work, seeing no signs. And sometimes people say, well, that's just luck. And what about the people who died, even if they believed? I'm not the one to have the answer for that, except to say that we know through science that the body, somatically, we respond to our thoughts. And you can actually engage chemicals such as hormone activity, so forth, by having thoughts of healing, having thoughts of being ill. If I told someone every day, you don't look good, you look sick, and then I told all his friends or her friends, tell that person every time you see them, they don't look good, Bill, within a matter of perhaps weeks or days, that person begins to feel ill because they've owned it. So your identity, right? The first, one of the most powerful forms of transformation is sense of self. When you shift how you see yourself, it seems like you call the troops. So physiologically, the body starts healing if you say you're well. And so if you have faith, in the healing, and a lot of times people say they're faithful and they have faith, and sometimes you've gone too far, and there's another lesson in the lesson, so to speak. And
a blessing in the lesson.
Yes, sir. And so we don't always have the answers, but I do know that from the folks that I've dealt with, that their faith has played a tremendous role in terms of their sanity and their progress and their so-called success, versus people who are out there just trying to do it on their own. If that makes sense.
It does. And well, everything that you say makes sense. And I oftentimes say to my audience that it's you I don't need to speak directly to you to understand who you are, if that makes sense. So
Yes,
whether you said earlier, whether you call it Jesus, Allah, God, there is a higher power. And once you respect that and you understand that and you call on that, you're able to progress. And the difficulty for me is expressing that, right? So I'm trying to express that to you, but I'm saying it in a way that makes sense in my mind, but it might not make sense to your mind.
right.
But it is what it is. And it is the higher power. And it is the knowledge that there is something out there that's greater than you that will take you forward and take you through.
Yes.
And you express that so elegantly, just in your speech, just in the way that you hit. It's great. I'm trying to get my brother to come on.
Yeah, that'd be
Because
great.
I'm telling you, he loves you. All right, all right. Go ahead. Sorry. So when I'm looking down, it's because I'm texting my
No,
brother.
it's okay. It's okay. I'd love you to lead. Tell me, what it is, the pulse of your audience, how you want me to, what shape and direction you want me to take today.
I
I'm happy
want you to be you. I want
Yeah.
you to tell people who you are and what you do.
Okay. So
Why are you connecting with me so
yeah. Let me
intimately?
just give a great shout out, to my other half, sometimes really my better half, with whom I could not be all this, and that is Audrey, my beloved wife. And we're celebrating 10 years next month of marriage. It's so amazing how we fool around or dated in college years ago, like 30 years ago, and then went our separate ways in terms of separate relationships, marriage, family. And when those didn't work out, unfortunately, we got back together through the magic of Facebook. And it was not a long dating period because we kind of know that we shared identity, purpose, and values, right? And we got back together, got married in 2015. I got it right, Audrey, 2015. And, yeah. And
You got it right, Audrey.
yeah, and she's a psychologist, right? So
I know.
yeah,
I know. I absolutely know that because
yeah.
I'm always afraid that she's gonna be like, okay,
No,
this
no.
guy's like, I'm analyzing this guy and his personality is like crooked.
I tell folks that I'm her favorite patient on her couch. No pun intended.
Okay,
So,
whatever.
yeah. So, one of the things that I must say is, and this is very important, the importance of having someone in your corner. The greatest, Muhammad Ali and others, they had their corner people, and their corner people could not fight as well as they could, huh? Tyson, they don't
Yeah,
fight as well. When you have a coach and a corner person, somebody that can see your blind spots, somebody that understands you sometimes more than you understand yourself, and they accept you for who you are, and they can also push you because they believe in you, even sometimes when you don't believe in yourself. That's important. And we have in the US this thinking about pulling yourself up by the bootstrap. There is no gold to be gotten from that attempt. You should not try to be pulling yourself up by the bootstrap. You should realize that there are people outside of yourself that can help you to leverage your growth and success much faster than if you had to do it on your own. And so, building relationships and identifying who these people are and tap into them and using their resources is very important. The idea of the Daniel Boone who has to go out and slaughter the West, those days are gone. It's certainly not something that we as a people of color, men, should be aspiring to. The idea of collaboration and communication and cooperation is what works for us, not conflict and conquest and competition, right? And
right.
so, yes, I think having your Audrey, whomever that is, in your corner, it can be, and some folks rely on a therapist. It's important to look at your weaknesses and find out how you can be helped and aided, and to move out of the man box and know that you can be vulnerable and get help. But I'm talking beyond that. I'm talking about a person that you feel a sense of that divine love, sharing, and connection with. And so that is my Audrey. And I think most men would benefit from having that person, and should try to develop those sort of relationships with a person that they can count on when they're falling flat. That person doesn't stomp over them, but helps to raise them up and see that they're dusted off so they can continue on the journey.
Bro. First of all, Audrey is lucky to have you.
I'm
and
lucky to have
you
her.
are lucky to have her,
Thank
right?
you. Yes, sir.
Because what you just said was so insightful. It's, you know, everyone, I think everyone out there is looking for someone to complete them, but they don't recognize that they're already complete. They just need that final puzzle piece, right? That final little sector that kind of fixes the picture, if that makes sense to you.
No, absolutely.
And the way, from the moment I met you, Audrey, from the moment I met you, you talked about Audrey as if she was that final puzzle piece, that she was that piece that put you together. You didn't need to be fixed. You you needed that corner,
Yeah.
that corner,
Yeah.
that one specific piece that would make you whole.
Yeah.
And you said that to me. I mean, I'll never. I have talked about it. I have spoken about it. I have written about it. Um, about our, you and I meeting. You have always spoken about Audrey in a way that she doesn't complete you, but she is the part of you that you needed when you needed it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All
Yeah.
right. Well said, Bill. Oh.
Well said, Bill. Did your brother get on the phone?
Huh?
Did your brother get on the phone?
He said, "Give me 5 minutes."
Okay. Cool.
So he's gonna he is gonna join us. So
Yeah.
he will be on.
Yeah.
So in our last conversation, we talked, and I said, "I'm looking for a job." You said you weren't looking for a job. I thought we were both looking at the time. But you said you were looking to embrace this person that you were becoming.
Yes, sir.
This era.
Yes.
So let's talk about that. Like,
Okay.
how is that going? Uh,
Okay.
are you loving it? Are you hating it? Like, what's going on?
Okay. Let me be fully transparent because that's part of authenticity. Yeah. So being a coach, being an entrepreneur is the toughest job I've ever had. Toughest role.
Absolutely.
When others are taking time off and knowing that their W-2 is in the mail and they're going to be paid. Excuse me. When you're an entrepreneur and you take time off, unless you have a system that's continuously working, you're cutting into your income, aren't you? And so
Absolutely.
people oftentimes say, "Oh, I want to work for myself so I can just take off, go to the beach." Well, it's quite the
It's not like
opposite.
that.
Not at all. Not at all. So, but this is not the first time I've been in business. As a young man, right out the gate, so to speak, I had a company called Pals International where I learned the nuances of the all-inclusive hotel program. You pay one time, it covers everything. And I was called out when I moved to New York by some headhunters to go start an all-inclusive in Aruba. It was called Bushiri Beach Resort at the time. I don't think it still exists. A long time ago in the 80s, late 80s. And from that, I was able to start a company setting up all-inclusives in 4 or 5 other islands before I came to the United States back to get my master's. And as an entrepreneur, I enjoyed it. It was the highlight of my life in terms of doing what I wanted to do. However, it was tough work, hard work. And I was probably the best, I would say, arguably, in the business at that time doing that work. So as an entrepreneur, I think after COVID in 2020, I fired corporate America. I worked for Corporate 50, heading up a team in their learning and development. And I've had leadership roles, overseeing multiple locations in the non-for-profit world. And so I've been a leader in many ways for a long time. An appointed leader, because we're all leaders, right? Whether somebody gives us the title or not. And when I started the all-inclusive, when I started VIP Transformative Living, the consulting / coaching company that I now run as the founder and CEO, I burnt the ships on the beach. There was no returning. I had committed that I was not going to go back and be an employee. I'm not saying there's something wrong with that. You got to have employees, right? Because if everybody's a boss, then who shows up? But when I decided to do that, it meant sacrificing a lot, going through my savings, cashing out some of my retirement income and expending it in terms of training. I've had coaches that I've paid 5 figures for. I've had, multiple times just putting money out there. And there are many, 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 many moons where my wife is the staple as a full-time employee for the federal government. And also she does private practice, right? Anybody looking for a wonderful, she's bilingual, she's African-American, and she's just an excellent coach. I'm sorry, therapist, if anybody wants one, DM me.
I need one.
yeah.
All the time. Like
Yeah.
all the time. I'm sure she's like sitting here listening to me saying, okay, these are his traumas.
No, it's all good. We all need somebody in our corner, like I said before. And so the coaching business is challenging because people are accustomed to therapy. And a lot of folks don't want to do therapy because they're associated with it, the stigma of, I'm not crazy, right? But coaching is relatively not new, but much newer in terms of acceptance by the public. So everybody's a coach. What people know as coach is a person who helps you to get your batting averages up, or your shots up, or your speed down on the 100. In other words, it's around sports. But coaching is really taking a look at folks at the 40 level or 40,000 feet level while you're down here, getting a 360 degree of what's going on with the individual and being able to call out what they see as patterns or lacks or limitations. And so we don't spend a lot of time looking at where you're cracking up and your faults in the past. Yes, we use it to inform us, but we spend more time in the present so that you can be enhanced and fortified and prepared to carry forward yourself for future delivery. The magic of coaching is we help people to step into their future self now so that when the future that they're looking for occurs, they're prepared for it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I share the analogy of the lotto. People who win the lotto, right, who have never been familiar with money, are typically broke within 3 and 5 years because no one taught them how to become a manager of wealth or money. And so they weren't able to step into that future persona with the habits and thinking of a millionaire.
Right.
So you're going to be broke.
Right.
So that's what I do in coaching. Because I choose to work with men of color who are going through the nuances of midlife, the mess in the middle, they say, right? Oftentimes, it's the place where you have played by the rules for the last 2 or 3 decades. You've bought the house, you've gotten the shiny objects, you have all the trophies on the wall, the handshakes and all that, how good you are for some people, but you're still empty. You're still feeling empty.
I'm gonna beat you up, Wayne. It's that's so on point. That's so on point. It's interesting because especially, I don't want to say especially men of color, because I'm only a man of color, so I can only see it through my lens.
Yeah.
But there was a point in my life where, and I told my daughter this too as well, where my love language was gifts. It was what I can do. It was my title. It was the C before my name. And when that got stripped away, I didn't know who I was.
Yes, yes.
I had no idea. And she was on the opposite of that spectrum, where she was more, you're my dad.
Yes.
So what's going on with you? Like, why are you stuck?
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel any value to being the dad. I
Yeah.
felt the value of being the supporter, of
Yeah.
being the financial the financial
Provider. Yeah.
provider. Yeah, thank you. Um, and then when that was stripped away, I didn't know who I was. It was exactly what you said. It we as men, and then as men of color, we need to recognize that we are more than. I'm gonna leave it right there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're
more
not alone.
than, more than um, what our mama say we should be, what our parents say we should be, we are more than. Yeah, just leave it right there. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. We grew up with the idea of where, when it comes to a family, we procreate, we provide, and we protect, right? And that was a mark of being a man. And it's a lot more than that. And we're recognizing now that in leading our families, there are different ways to do it. And it's more than bravado, so to speak. The stoicness that we oftentimes hear that we must have. We got to show up and not show that we're hurting, and we can't share the sentiments of I love you, I feel pain. And so we identify oftentimes with the sense of we're able to either protect or provide. And provision comes through the identity of a solid job and good earning, right? And so when that's stripped, a part of our identity throws us off. We're like hopping around on one leg. We can't fully see who we are because that piece has been taken from us. Or has it? It's we can provide in other ways.
yeah,
Good buddy of mine currently, while his wife is the main breadwinner now, he's at home raising and nurturing his 2-year-old daughter. Isn't he providing?
yes, he is. Yes, absolutely. And that's what's really weird about the entire situation. Like, my brother is the best dad ever. My brother is the best dad ever. Um, and I said it twice because I want him to know that. I want him to recognize that, because we didn't have that, him and I. Um, and when you're looking at life, when you're looking at what you contribute to your family, to the ethos, to everyone around you, um, the fact that he is the best dad ever is far more important than what he financially brings to the table.
Yes.
If that makes sense. I
Oh,
mean,
absolutely.
this guy is phenomenal, my bro. I mean, he is phenomenal. And it took me forever because, you and we were probably raised in a similar type of era. I don't know how old you are, but
I'm a young one.
I almost gave you the finger. Okay, you could be the young one. Thank you. You're the young one. But it was different. Me and my brother were raised, My dad was in the 70s. It wasn't, hugs and kisses. It wasn't any of that.
Yeah.
But listening to you, I recognize that I didn't need that. Listening to you and what you are expressing to the world, the male image is not what we thought it should, not what we thought it should be, but what we create it to be. That's so freaking deep.
Let me share with you, at the end of my previous relationship,
The
so
one
my
that
ex,
dumped you?
yeah, so my ex has kids. Well, kind of like her, maybe not, but so my ex has the home, raising the kids, and there were days, many days, that I could not meet the provision requirement, so to speak, in terms of finances, struggling. I would show up, get her a car, go change the oil, cut the grass, do the snow blowing thing around the yard, you know, just get the kids, whether it was my weekend or not, and just give her a chance to get some air and get out and live her life. And not only did she appreciate that, but it was tremendous in terms of bonding and growing and having the kids see how a dad could show up by being present and participating wholly in their life. So
it wasn't about the money. It was more about the fact that you showed up.
And listen, it costs to cut the lawn. If you're right, it costs to get someone to assist with this blowing off the snow.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
so even in terms of supplementing the money by staving off those expenses is a way that men could show up. And so when I talk about identity, and I struggle too, because I'm no better than anybody else, I'm learning, forever learning these strategies and skill sets. But identity, the who am I, has to be defined a little bit more so than what I do. And so
Absolutely.
when we go into the boardrooms of America and we are pronouncing that we have arrived and it makes us feel good, that's very conditional. And since innately at the soul level, we have yet to accomplish the wholeness, the comprehensiveness of being a man, then once they pull that away from you, once you are taken away from that position of power by way of a title and an income, you fall flat. And this is why you see
Absolutely.
a rise in suicide and a lot of mental health in terms of men. And I think Estelle, I didn't want us to leave. Estelle, one of our listeners, asked about how does color define a man? And I think she's not provoking us around the whole black versus white, but she wants to know how we are seen. People see our color, right? And
they should.
Yeah.
I get conflicted with that, and I'm just going to step in for 1 second. My color, my background, who I am, my history, my parents, that is my makeup. That's what builds that. That's who I am. So when people say, "Oh, I'm colorblind," okay, thank you for that. I appreciate that. But like, I want you to see me. I want you to recognize the beauty that my background brings to the table. So
yes,
I'm gonna leave it there.
Yes, a whole new smorgasbord of experiences based on how you show up. and your culture
Yeah,
and your training and your thinking, right? Practices. So a Black man in Jamaica has a very different culture than a Black man in the United States. And
absolutely.
so our reality in terms of how we express ourselves and how we treat the world are through different lenses. It's not, better or worse. It is what it is, and it must be recognized. The nuances help to define who we are. And here's the truth: we live in a world here in the United States. I feel it much more than I did when I lived in Jamaica, where oftentimes, because I am Black, doors close in my face and opportunities that would be open otherwise, and to my counterparts who oftentimes are less qualified,
Yeah,
it's just not the same. And so I am prepared to go in and work harder, recognizing that I might be the last hired but the first fired, recognizing that I have to be man enough to go in there with my chin up and be self-determined in a way that sometimes my counterparts could slacken and still get by. So it defines us because it puts an extra amount of duress on us to not just to thrive, but even to survive.
say it again. Not just to,
Not just to survive, not
but
just to thrive, right?
yes,
Which we want to do. It's our God-given right, our birthright to thrive, but just to survive.
100, 100. Wayne, you you got this on lock. Um, I don't even know what to say. Like, you bring it every freaking time. Like, every time we talk, from the first time we met, it's just been bold, it's been aggressive, it's been full throttled, and it's been real.
Try to be real.
You are amazing.
Thank you.
Um, and I don't think people understand the journey that we walk, because it is different. It's 100% different. Um, the journey is different.
Okay.
Where depending on where you're sitting, um, a lot of times people have said recently that um, DEI is uh, reverse racism. I'm like, really? Do you really believe that? And I say really from a female perspective, from a male perspective, from a man of color perspective, from all of that. Like, really? That's
Mhm.
what you think? Oh my God, my brother. There he is, Wayne.
Hey,
That's your
brother Phil, I am feeling that gray beard, Phil.
that's your
Somebody
number
got to. Somebody
that's your
got to feel it, man.
that's your number one fan, Wayne. He
Phil,
is.
how are you this Sunday, my friend?
Hey, I'm blessed and highly favored, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for the blessings. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
No doubt.
he has 100%. Like, since he heard you, he's like, get Wayne back on, get Wayne back on, get Wayne back on. I'm like, what? Like,
I was saying we got
Yep.
to get you out of Illinois so you can come down here and we can break bread, Phil.
You got to get me out where?
out of Illinois.
You're out of Illinois from home. When you come back down here, come down here and visit Bill and I so we can break bread. You know what I mean?
Copy that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yes, sir.
got you. Yeah. I appreciate that positive energy, man. And I've been around a lot of different type of people. So it's a blessing for me sometimes, and it's a curse sometimes. But I get the bullshit out the way real quick, and I felt when you was on last time that you was 100% authentic and on point with it. And man, I almost ran through a brick wall after listening to you, bro.
Thank you, Phil.
You know, yeah. So that's real, man. That's real. And your energy and what you was actually saying can be applied to just about any and everybody who's trying to wake up every day and move forward. So it's just not just for one type of person. So that's what makes it awesome too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's universal. You know,
it's universal.
We can look at what life has dealt us and succumb to it and say, oh, poor me, and become victims of it. Or we can say, oh, I choose to not fall and become victors of it, right? And people might say that's easier said than, that's just talk. When you are dealing with an oppressive system or a racist agenda or whatever, how do you get through that? It begins with one thought at a time. It begins with the desire to make it happen. What I call possibilities or positive possibilities. It begins, it's the first is to become aware and to own what's going on, your reality. And you can't do that if you're smoking reefer and getting high 24/7 or drinking liquor or committed to porn 24/7. You have to be able to pull away, disassociate from the distractions so that you can focus. And once you are aware of your circumstances, then the next thing is to strategize and plan. So you take ownership, but you do something about it. And, someone once says, if you can't go through it, go around it, go over it, go under it, but keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to find a way. And like I said, man, when what you're saying is so dynamic. So I just got to get in where I fit in. One thing that helped me with it is I was able to slow things down in my life and find my purpose.
Yes, sir.
And then what's unique about Bill and myself and the way we were raised, the struggle made me stronger.
Yes, sir.
So with that being said, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. Ain't no sense in lying now. I have mercy. Listen, man. Like I said, bro, you had me ready to run through a brick wall. I said, nah, man. But what I'm saying is that when you talk about racism and making excuses and all that, that's victim mentality. And it's so ironic that you said that, because I had a cousin here last week and I said, listen, man, I'm gonna be straight with you. That's what white people want, strong Black men to wake up walking out the house as victims. Because that means we walking with our heads down, our chests sucked in over our hearts. You know what I'm saying? And what you say with your mouth is just as important as what you're saying with your body.
Of course.
100. So when I walk up, when I walk out of my house, I'm the predator.
Yes, man.
You better watch, you better look out for me. Now I'm saying that in a positive way.
Yes. Yeah, no, I got you.
Because and like I said, I don't want to drive the Ferrari 100 miles an hour up 2 blocks. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
But what you're saying is about, the victim and the excuses, man. In my opinion, I almost called you coach.
That's what folks call me. Coach is fine.
Coach, that's killing the Black man.
Yeah. I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. It's very interesting, Wayne, because you are going to get two totally different vibes between me and my brother. And I think it's fantastic that him and I are so opposite, but we are so connected.
Yeah.
Wayne, coach,
Yes, sir.
can I tell you a funny story?
Absolutely.
So, you know, barbershop talk when you go into barbershops.
Okay.
So I used to go into barbershops around here, and probably, I guess, 10 years ago or whatever the case may have been, and I need you to go with me on this, coach.
I'm here, brother.
It was talk about, I don't know if the talk was out in Miami, but it was out in these barbershops. Would you get in the ring with Mike Tyson? And if you lasted 3 rounds, you would get $3 million. And you would be surprised how many guys said, man, I'm not getting in that ring. I'm not getting in that ring. And I'm telling you something, man, people thought I was crazy because I said, not only am I getting into the ring with Mike Tyson, and every round I last, I'm going to get $1 million. I'm going to try to knock his ass out. Now, here's what I'm saying, coach. I let all the chickens talk. And then I said, now, wait a minute. Let's get one thing straight. I'm 5'11", 230. Mike Tyson is 5'11", 225. I'm not running away from somebody the same size as me.
You're crazy.
Then once no, hold on. I'm talking to coach. Coach. Then once I broke it down to them like that, they understood. I'm not going to run from somebody that's the same size. Now, if he was 6'4", 285,
then you would run.
But I'm not running away from somebody that I'm looking at eyeball to eyeball saying, man, let's squab. Let's get it on. Let's get it cracking. We're the same height and weight. I've been fighting all my life. So that's the energy I carry. And whenever I can get like tidbits from what you have to offer, man, that gets me going. But I will say, you mentioned something about smoking weed and all that. I don't smoke weed, but I do drink beer on the weekends, coach.
Okay.
Now, what I'm talking about is doing anything in excess. You could drink too much water and flood your system and kill yourself, couldn't you? But if I were your coach, permit me, Phil, to kind of respond to what you just said. Do I have your permission to coach you a little bit right now?
Yes.
Okay. So first of all, it's about discernment, right? And so sometimes one of the things that we do is we are moved through emotion. We are reactive, responsive, and we lose rationale. So the first thing I would say is when you look at our opponents, and Mike Tyson is truly just a symbol for a system, that we're up against, as you say. Sometimes we have to make a discernment in terms of using our resourcefulness, not the resources. So we may think we are on the same level, but we may have to retreat so we can evaluate and come back again and beat Mike Tyson, not just last in the ring. That's one thing I would suggest to brothers. And some brothers like you, not good or wrong or right or bad, because we have been trained as men to take it on the chin and to square up, we sometimes, with timing, mistime the opportunity and lose out on it.
Mm.
So, Mike Tyson, it may be okay to square up, but perhaps the timing would be go get 6 months of intense, arduous training so that when you go in, you're better prepared. Now,
that's deep.
So what I'm saying is,
freaking deep, Wayne.
A lot of times as men, We are trained to not show fear, to not show vulnerability. And sometimes fear is what we need to save us. Fear is what we need to take us to the next level. Because fear is a warning signal to say, hey, freeze, flight, rather than fight. So we can come back again another day.
All right. So I'm gonna put you on the spot right now, Wayne. So you have fearless and fearful, right?
Yes, sir.
So I'm fearful, right? My brother is fearless. Growing up, even though he was the younger brother, he was the guy that was taking everything on the chin. I'm not gonna let anybody talk about my brother. I'm gonna fuck somebody up. He was in it to win it. Like, he wasn't gonna let anything stand in his way. So I get what you said. I heard what you said, but how do you? And Philip Puji actually said this to me. One of our uncles. He said, "You and your brother dealt with your upbringing differently."
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday.
Yeah. So, where I took it as an introvert, my brother was an extrovert. So he was out there like banging people in the head, like just killing people. Like, nah, man, you ain't gonna talk to me like that. But they weren't talking to him.
It's kind of like what Coach was saying, and obviously the Mike Tyson is an analogy.
Absolutely.
But through the grace of God, I was able to harness that fearlessness into being fearless when it comes to being a father, being fearless when it comes to working on my marriage, being fearless when it comes to working on in my job, which is predominantly white, and being fearless in my faith. That's why, again, Bill, what you're doing and having Coach on is so intriguing to me, is because and going back to what Coach said about the training could be training yourself to eat right, training yourself to be more disciplined, training yourself to learn how to do things more around the house. So yeah, man, I'm excited to be here, Coach. And
Yes,
and man, like I said, man, when I'm on this show, I want you to give me 125, my G.
125. What does that mean?
125%.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir. Keep it real. That's the only way to go. A lot of folks in a time, Phil, of social media being the heralding of what's real, a lot of folks are fake. A large percentage of people that you're going to meet through social media are fake. They're posing by the Lambo. They're posing by their friend's yacht. They're acting as if all is well. You know what I mean? They take 6 selfies and they have to screen out the blemishes, and they have to go through. And what you're seeing ain't what it all is all about.
Right.
A lot of people are Monday morning quarterbacks. They can tell you about the fights, and they can the game, and they can square up and be all tough behind the screens. They're fake. A lot of fake is happening in the real world. And so it's important that when you meet a real brother or a sister for that matter, because, hey, I'm in Florida, man, that BBL, everybody is fake down right? You know what I'm saying?
He don't know what that means.
I do. Hey, you talking about fake titties and ass?
Yeah. Okay. So now I just got my YouTube just got canceled, but okay, yeah.
Got flagged. but
My
everybody, there's so much fake in terms of people's sensibilities and sense of who they are, how they show up. You know, I want to go back to the fact that we have divinity in us, brother. We're created by the Most High. And so, as a result, the realest part of us is to connect with that part of us, that spiritual thing. And so sometimes it's important for us as men to stay still, be quiet, and be obedient.
Mm.
And we do this oftentimes through prayer. We do this through meditation. We do this through taking a breath, thinking before we act. You know, I'm in Florida, and every other person, including grandma at the bingo, has a weapon in her purse, right?
Right.
You pull up at a light and start acting out. You might not see the
The light of day, right?
The light of day.
Yeah.
So it behooves you to just chill and be guided. We call it intuition, but by the divine that wants to make sure that you're on the right path. We're not obedient. We sometimes are flexing when we should be, like I said before, retreating to become whole and true to ourselves and come back stronger, bigger, better, and bolder.
Right on.
And I tell you, there's a place, Phil. There's a place also for facing our fears, which is great. As you said, it makes you a better father, a better husband. The opposite side of this is that sometimes folks are so fearful that they lose sight of the faith that they have to go forward to have the breakthroughs they need. They don't make a decision. They're afraid of what their wife will say if they tell her how they're feeling. And so they live a lie all their lives where nobody's meeting each other's needs because you don't want to hurt somebody's feeling, but you wind up hurting your relationships, including your children, because now you have a house that's built on cards.
See, Wayne, this is why I can't have you on too much, because you end up making me cry. I'm like, what's going on? You know, what you just said, Wayne, is really in this moment what I'm so proud about with my relationship with my brother, because we are so different, but we have finally made a connection where we have met and we have understood each other for who we are, not who we expected the other person to be. And Philip, I am so happy about that. I am so happy to say that you are one of my best friends. Like, I am happy to say that.
Appreciate that.
Huh?
I appreciate it.
You want to say it back?
Yeah. Yeah, when you get done talking, man, I don't want to take over the show, my brother. I'm gonna sit here and let you brag on me, man.
But you know, I don't know if you've ever felt this before, Wayne, but
Yeah,
there was so much tension between the two of us because he and I expected the other to be what the other expected,
yeah.
right? And once we let go of who I thought he should be versus who he is, I was able to love him and speak to him in a way that benefited us both. So I'm not going to tell you why, but I called him like maybe what was it 6 months ago, Phil? Maybe a year ago, and I was like in tears. I'm like bro, I ain't got no job. I'm not working. Everything is horrible. And he was like, just tell me just talk to me.
Right.
And half of it I couldn't get out. Half of it I could not get out. And he was like, I already know. Just talk to me. Just talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And hearing him say that was such a great um exception. I don't know if that's the right word. Um, but what he was telling me was, I love you, just talk to me.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And brothers, sisters, siblings, whatever, we don't recognize that we already know who we are. Phil already knows who I am. From 5 years old to 20 years old. He knows who I am. So I didn't need to tell him anything. I just needed to be comfortable with myself to say who I
So
am.
so here's what it was for me.
All right.
I'm 55, and Bill, I think you 57, 58. So
I didn't ask you to say any of that.
so from man to man, I was saying that if you want to have a real relationship with me, you got to understand, Bill, and you know, like you said, you know who I am, you know what I've been through. We need to be honest with each other. All that fake stuff, miss me with that, bro, because that don't do nothing for me. That's just wasting my time. So that's why I was like, man, moving forward, let's just put it out there.
It was so freeing. It was
As men.
it was so freeing to have my brother say that and just be like, bro, come on, what are you doing here? Talk to me.
Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna live no lie. I don't, you know what I'm saying?
And you don't. Sorry, Wayne. You up here coaching us.
Good. No, this is good because you're setting an example for what really needs to be in terms of what we need to do as Black men to get ahead and to move forward.
Absolutely.
In our relationships with each other and with our women folks that we bond with. We have to show up. See, one of the reasons why relationships fail is because we fall in love with the person we aspire the person to be, not who they are.
Right.
Right. So a lot of times people go in, if you go into a relationship and you haven't healed, you can't be whole. So the relationship will never be healthy.
Right.
You got to do the healing. And a lot of relationships, people go in and say, I'll make you better. When she marries me, when he marries me, he'll be a better man. He'll stop going to the casino. He'll stop doing this. And that is false expectation appearing real, right?
Right.
So one of the things that we have to do, which is what you gentlemen did, you have to call it for what it is. Hey, my shit stinks. This is what's happening. Sorry, Bill. The YouTube police is knocking on your door.
YouTube police are knocking on my door.
It's probably one of them police I got on payroll, so Bill should be straight.
So we call it for what it is. Here is what I've dealt with. Here is where I am. I'm going through the process of healing. Either you're going to accept the person and help them on that journey, but you can't go in to try to change them. I came from a background, Jamaican parents. My father was an austere disciplinarian, mother filled with nurturing love. They both loved me, right? But they showed it differently. I was mama's boy. Dad was strict, and took no nonsense, And so one of the things that I learned was I have to know that his way, the tough love, was his way of denoting that I want to make sure that you don't go to the streets or I don't lose you. So in the house, I'm going to be tight on you. You can't slip up. And I thought that that was the way to father my own household. And so, but he did the best he did because that's what he knew. And he's coming from, my father would be 103 if he was alive today. So he's coming from a post World War I environment. He was born in 22, I think, right? So he sees a different world than the world we see today.
Yeah.
And that's what he knew. And so when I had children in a family, I'm walking in saying, hey, nothing in the dishes, nothing, take his shoes off, the Ayatollah coming down with the hatch. And for me, that was about disciplining my kids and making sure they, don't spoil the rod, be strong. But it made people feel like they were walking on edge in their own homes. Audrey told me that too. Yeah, man, I can't do that. You got to chill. I need to come home and be free to be home. And so I had to realize that my rule and what I thought was the way to go was, for me, was not necessarily the law. Moses didn't bring it down for me. It was my rules. And so I had to break that tablet and allow people to be themselves. And so I think what we do in relationships, what Phil said is, break the tablet and be yourself. And I can accept you. We don't have to have a golden calf. I'll see you for who you are. And I'll accept you for who you are. But you got to be true to yourself so I can be true in terms of that. And that's the same way we have to take our relationships with our wives or spouses, significant other.
Yeah.
The no judgment zone has to be real. And we have to slay the ego so that we go.
Slay the ego so that we go.
Yeah.
Ooh. Wayne.
Or you could say slay the ego so we grow.
So we grow. I love it.
Hey,
I'm going to take you on the road, be my marketing manager, man.
Hey, I'm telling you, Wayne, he loves you. He thinks you're fantastic. Like my brother, it's like, when's Wayne coming back? When's Wayne coming back?
Hey, let me say this.
All right.
Because I don't know Wayne.
All right.
So I love what I've been getting so far with what you're doing with Bill. I think it's very powerful, and I think it's very appropriate. And for me, it's very motivating.
Thank you.
Now, I don't know how we would be if we were sitting down together in the same room, you know what I'm saying? But sitting here listening to you on the internet, we a vibe.
Hey,
are you a Bulls fan?
I'm
a what?
A Bulls. I'm a sports fan, period. I like the Bulls, yeah.
So already we'll be splitting hairs, right?
Yeah.
Wayne, we got to get together sometime soon.
Yeah,
actually.
Absolutely.
Lunch
Bill,
or something.
Absolutely. Bill, if I may shamelessly plug, I'm forming a group for men who are, like we've all been, and perhaps are, in a space where they've played by the rules, but they're still feeling that there's something more, something missing.
That's deep, man.
We just gonna meet and bust it up and support each other. But I'm working towards doing a healing retreat for men in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And so what I want to do, brothers will come for a long weekend, all inclusive. That's my stomping ground. We're going to get into some stuff that is driven by the ancestral spirit in Jamaica to make you feel that pulse. No fake stuff. Fake stuff.
Just tell me when and where, right?
Absolutely. So what I'd like for folks to do today, Bill, you can put up just send me an email, Wayne Dawson VIP @gmail, and just say group. And if someone sends that to me, I'm going to be helping them along by enrolling them in the group. The group is free. You know, we'll meet, have a cadence in terms of monthly have meetings, and I'll be giving lots of material to help brothers move through some of the stuff, the nuances that I know. And of course, later on, if brothers want to get coaching, that's available. If we're a good fit, because everybody's not a good fit.
I get that.
And at the, what I want to do is my wife and I are headed to Ghana this year. So sometime early next year, we want to land the plane in terms of the retreat. It may be before, but for sure, early next year, we want to do our first healing retreat in Jamaica. It will be limited. We can't take on a limited amount of men. It will be limited to test, but the outcome is to give brothers insight to reimagine, redefine, and restore themselves so that they can come back and conquer the issues that we talked about around career, relationship, and health.
Yep. Well, I'll say this: you got two men that will join you on that retreat to Jamaica. Me and my brother, and that's exciting to me. It's 100% exciting to me for multiple reasons, and the best reason is, you know, he's not showing you right now, Wayne, but that man right there, his house is spectacular, right? He's not showing it to you. He's very, very humble. And he's never been to my home in Miami. So yeah, him coming here to go to Jamaica, yeah, like that's a 45-minute flight.
But
so
an hour almost, yeah.
Maybe an hour. I mean, it's nothing. So he would just like come here, and then him and I would go there. You know, it would be a great bonding experience for both of us, as well as I want to support whatever you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And so just to share with your audience, Jamaica is on the line. Costa Rica we're going to be talking to Costa Rica as well, as another venue. And it starts off with men, but I also work with men and the women who love them. So we're going to also have some couples event after that to help couples that are also in that space where there is this absenteeism of passion and vigor, and where love has somewhat waned, help people to reignite their relationship and put it on full throttle once again. So, you know, that's to come. But yeah.
One of the things that I think Phil brings to the table is he's been married for what, 20 years?
Wow. And Phil, congratulations.
25.
25?
Wow.
And he's a special person. He is not easy, right? Neither one of us are easy. So he has had to work on developing those skills to last for 25 years. I mean, and I haven't. I won't. I refuse to. Just like
and Bill, let me say this. To kind of piggyback on what you're saying. So the beauty of it is, this is my second marriage. My first marriage didn't work out. My first marriage lasted 2 weeks. No, hey, it's funny, right?
Well, we don't normally talk about that because it only lasted. He's not joking, Wayne. It only lasted 2 weeks.
But it lasted a couple months. But here's the beauty of it, and I think what Bill's getting at is because I didn't give up on marriage, you know, because the lady was 15 years older than me. I was 25. She was 40. But I told myself, no, I want to be married. So that's a small testimony.
Oh, that's beautiful. But it speaks to what you talked about, how you were brought up, how you brought yourself up, facing your fears and learning from it. See,
I'm not going to quit.
You can't quit.
Right on.
Failure is not when you miss your goal or your mark. That's simply feedback, right? If you shot an arrow at a target and the wind took it to the right or to the left, you don't say necessarily you gave up archery. You start shooting so that you can direct with the wind to hit the target. So failure is feedback. Failure is when you stop, when you say, no more, I'm done. And so what you're saying is that you made the adjustments, Phil, to grow bigger, better, and bolder. You sage rather than simply aged and passed on, saying, repeating the same thing over and over.
Exactly. But the biggest thing I learned is stay away from older women. Yeah.
I love you. I really love you. You're so funny.
Yeah.
Phil, how many children do you have?
I got one son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
One son.
And Bill, you have a daughter.
I have two daughters,
Okay.
but they're twins, so
okay,
we count them as one.
Okay. I got 2 boys, 2 girls.
Yeah.
And so let me preface to say biologically, because I also have 2 girls and a son through marriage through Audrey. So I have a wonderful blended family, and we love each other. I mean, like we get together. You know, my biological kids aren't in Florida. My kids through Audrey, what people call loosely stepchildren, they're still my children, right? They're in Florida. They took me out for Father's Day, and it was well worth it, man, because I didn't miss a beat in terms of the love and respect. And so what I've learned to do, which I help brothers to do, is to have a blended family when you have separations and divorces. And brothers will say, that's a whole nother lecture, but brothers will say, oh, you know, if significant other is having issues. But when you're a king, brother, you set the trend in your kingdom.
Absolutely.
You're responsible for what goes on, the flow and the energy. So I know a lot of people talk about toxic relationships, but you have to regulate that. If you want to be treated as a king, you have to wear the crown and walk with the regalia.
Wear that crown.
This is why he loves you so much, Wayne. Like that.
It's true.
Like I know my brother, and you just spoke life into him right now.
Yeah. That's right, man.
I felt it.
Yeah, that's right, man.
All right. So we're at an hour and a half.
Wayne Dawson VIP at Gmail. Right group, and I'll get you in the group, keep you abreast of what's going on.
Absolutely. And Wayne, when are you and I gonna get together?
Phil,
Bill.
I'm sorry. Bill, but this is also for Phil. Let us get on each other's calendar after the show. Let's do something in, if not the week here, the week right after. But let's make it happen quickly.
Yeah. I mean, Phil's not going to join because he's in Illinois.
No, I know. But it's open for him too when he does come down.
He will come down, and him and I, like, you just don't know, Wayne, like the way that we were versus the way that we are. It's 100% different. It's 100, and I'm so happy for it. So, I love you.
I'm about family, man. Family first, man. I'm about family. We talk about legacy. We can look to family. That's the first legacy, not what we leave in terms of things, but what we leave in terms of feelings and relationships. Family.
Right on. I love you, my little guy, my little brother, my little brother. Now he's mad.
I love you too, man.
All right, guys.
Even when you act like that, I still love you.
I do though. I do. You're like the.
I know you do. Hey, and like I said, man, you know, I love you, but to me, more important than that, I'm feeling what you're doing, man, with bringing positive people together. I gotta keep reiterating that, man.
Thank you.
I think you using your talents for the right reasons, my brother.
I appreciate that.
I love that in you, bro.
I appreciate that. Have you listened to my songs I've been writing?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna send you my songs too, Wayne.
I hear you. I hear you.
I've been doing them on Sona. It's some AI program that like takes your voice and makes it into like auto-tunes. So I sound really great, and it's kind of cool. And I'm using my like old episodes of my podcast to turn them into transcripts, and so that's the lyrics.
Powerful.
It's very powerful. Like it's so cool. So
when we sit down, I want to learn a little bit about what you're doing in that respect. You know, talking about getting people awake and conscious. A brother who is armed with knowledge of self is a dangerous brother. And so my mission is to arm as many brothers as possible with awokeness, to make them know and own who they are. Their I am. We're not to be treated lightly or taken for granted. We're worthy. We're as good as they get. We're powerful. We're meaningful. You know, and you know, a lot of times I hear people saying Black men have generational trauma. You know, his father was an alcoholic, so I'm not surprised he's a drug addict or an alcoholic. But look at it this way. If we can carry generational trauma, which is the negative stuff that we talk about, the genes and all that of negativity, look at what our ancestors or forefathers have established, sustained, established. We also carry generational triumph. And so we should own that.
That's right.
Freaking excellent. That was like,
that's right. Everybody talk about all the negative stuff. Everybody talks about all the negative. Coach, can you say that one more time, please, Coach?
Absolutely. Black men, oftentimes we put it on ourselves. We're endowed with it by others about generational trauma. Oh, trauma informed in this. But if we can carry generational trauma and we know ourselves and our history, our ancestors, those who came before us, our forefathers have carried generational triumph, and we should own that.
Amen.
Wayne, you are a blessing. We got to get we got to get together.
Yes, sir.
In person, without film, because he's in Illinois.
Say the word. We'll make it happen.
Yeah. All right. Hey, everyone. Thank you very much for joining Be You Live. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate your feedback, and I appreciate the fact that you keep uplifting us as men, as fathers, as husbands, as whatever way we describe each other. All right. Talk to you later. Have a good one.
Peace.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.